December 26th, 2004 began in absolute calm. Families were at breakfast, ocean breezes moved along the shore, and there was not a single warning. Minutes later, beneath the Indian Ocean, a silent rupture larger than almost any before lifted the seafloor 10 meters along a fault line 1,600 kilometers long. There were no alarms and no alerts. Just 20 minutes later, an invisible wall of water erased entire cities. What happened in those lost minutes, and why did the deadliest tsunami in modern history strike without a warning? At 7:58 in the morning local time, a violent rupture tore through the Sunda subduction zone off Sumatra's coast. Instruments later registered a magnitude of 9.1, making it one of the largest earthquakes ever measured. For 10 minutes, the seafloor heaved upward, some sections by as much as 10 meters, along a fault line stretching 1,600 kilometers. The force released was immense, comparable to the energy of 23,000 Hiroshima bombs. Seismologists studying the event describe the rupture as unusually long, both in distance and duration. Dr. Kerry C., who spent decades mapping this region, later called it the textbook case of a megathrust earthquake. Plates that had been locked for centuries suddenly slipped, displacing billions of tons of water in a matter of seconds. This vertical shift set off waves traveling at jetliner speeds, racing silently across the Indian Ocean. Despite the scale of the event, no formal tsunami warning system watched over these waters. While the Pacific had networks of sensors and protocols honed over decades, the Indian Ocean remained exposed. Seismic data did reach global centers within minutes, but there was no agreed way to turn those signals into public warnings for the countries ringing the basin. In those critical early moments, coastal towns and villages remained unwarned, their daily routines undisturbed. The ocean's surface betrayed nothing of the shock unfolding deep below, even as invisible waves gathered strength and speed, heading for shore. At 8:14 in the morning, the first tsunami wave reached the shores of Banda Aceh. In less than 20 minutes, the city's quiet morning vanished beneath a wall of water. Eyewitnesses recall a black surge taller than the palm trees, sweeping through streets and swallowing entire neighborhoods. Field surveys later measured run-up heights of nearly 30 meters on the coast west of Banda Aceh. Waves strong enough to hurl fishing boats onto rooftops and tear concrete buildings from their foundations. The destruction was immediate and total. Low-lying river plains, crowded with homes and markets, were inundated within minutes. Satellite images captured entire districts stripped to bare earth. Villages closest to the sea were erased, leaving only scattered debris and the foundations of mosques or schools. Hospitals and clinics, many already strained by years of conflict, faced a flood of injured and dying. In some communities, over 70% of residents perished. Rami described the moment as a nightmare. It was like the end of the world. The water was black, full of wood and cars. I ran, but it was faster. By the end of the day, Indonesia's death toll would reach 167,000. Another 500,000 people in Aceh were left without homes, searching for lost family among the ruins. With the sea still restless and no warning of what was coming next, the question hung in the air: where else would the waves strike? By 10 in the morning, the tsunami reached Thailand's Andaman coast, striking beaches that just hours earlier had been filled with holiday crowds. In Phuket and on the Phi Phi Islands, the first warning was not a siren or an alert, but the sea itself vanishing. Water drew back nearly 800 meters, revealing coral, stranded fish, and the muddy seabed. Many tourists, unfamiliar with the danger, wandered out to explore, snapping photos and collecting shells. Some local vendors and hotel staff watched in confusion, unsure what the strange retreat could mean. When the waves returned, they arrived with devastating force. Walls of water surged over the sand, sweeping away beach chairs, market stalls, and entire resort buildings. Streets became rivers, and the sound of breaking glass and splintering wood echoed above the roar. The death toll in Thailand would reach 8,000, including about 2,000 foreign visitors. Entire families were lost in moments. Identification took weeks, with missing persons posters lining the airport and hospital walls. Yet, on Mi Khao Beach, knowledge made a difference. 10-year-old Tilly Smith, visiting from England, recognized the signs from a geography lesson. She remembered that a rapidly receding ocean could mean a tsunami was coming. Tilly insisted her parents leave the shore and told nearby adults what she had learned. Her warning sparked a rush to higher ground, saving nearly 100 lives. In the chaos and confusion, a child's memory became a lifeline, proof that education could mean the difference between escape and disaster. As the waves moved on, the question remained: would the next coast have any warning at all? At 10:30 in the morning, the tsunami reached Sri Lanka's southern and eastern shores. Fishing villages and bustling towns, unaware of the disaster unfolding thousands of kilometers away, faced waves that rose up to 10 meters high. Along the coast near Paralia, the Queen of the Sea train carried more than 1,500 passengers, many traveling home after Christmas. When the first wave struck, the train halted, stranded on tracks just meters from the ocean. Some passengers climbed onto the roof, hoping for safety. Moments later, a second, even larger wave surged inland, sweeping the entire train from the rails and crushing the carriages. Rescue workers and relatives would later count about 1,700 dead at this site alone, making it the deadliest rail disaster in history. Across Sri Lanka, the toll climbed to 35,000 lives lost. Entire fishing communities vanished, their homes and boats obliterated. Survivors described streets filled with water, debris, and the desperate cries of those searching for missing family members. For many, the sea that had always provided was now a source of terror and grief. The tsunami's reach did not stop at South Asia. Traveling over 5,000 kilometers from the epicenter, the waves struck the East African coast 8 hours after the earthquake. In Somalia, nearly 300 people died as water rushed through coastal villages, sweeping away homes and fishing boats. Tanzania and South Africa recorded fatalities as well, 10 in South Africa alone, proof that the energy unleashed was enough to cross an entire ocean and still cause destruction. The force that morning rivaled the power of 23,000 Hiroshima bombs, leaving a trail of devastation from Indonesia to Africa, and reminding the world that no coastline was truly out of reach. Across 14 countries, the tsunami left a single, staggering toll: more than 230,000 lives lost in a matter of hours. The waves did not just erase towns and villages, they tore families apart, leaving at least 1.7 million people homeless. In Indonesia, Sri Lanka, India, Thailand, and beyond, survivors spent days and weeks in makeshift camps, surrounded by the ruins of their homes and the uncertainty of what would come next. The destruction extended beyond human loss. Economists estimate that damages reached $15 billion as entire coastal economies collapsed overnight, with fishing fleets destroyed, ports and hotels swept away, and farmland poisoned by salt water. In the immediate aftermath, the sheer number of victims overwhelmed local authorities. In some regions, the only way to prevent disease was to bury the dead in mass graves. A United Nations official later described the scene as the greatest humanitarian challenge of our generation. After the devastation, governments and scientists across the Indian Ocean began building a warning chain that had never existed before. Within 2 years, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System was launched, linking seismic networks, deep-sea buoys, and tide gauges from Indonesia to East Africa. Sirens were installed on beaches, and evacuation routes were mapped for coastal communities. Policy experts stress that education remains just as important as technology. School drills, public signage, and community workshops now form the backbone of preparedness. Yet the system's effectiveness depends on constant funding and maintenance. and experts warn that gaps in communication or worn-out equipment could still cost lives. The legacy of 2004 is a network designed to save millions, but only if vigilance and investment continue. Today, more than 400 million people live in tsunami risk zones, and early warning systems still face dangerous gaps. The next wave won't wait for us to be ready. Preparedness, not memory, is what stands between survival and loss. What lessons will we choose to act on now?